We'll give it one more minute.
Yeah, they're standalone devices, so they have a hard drive in them.
Make sure that you're
Oh,
on,
in the headset.
you go to your host tools
Because you
and
see, I'm
go
very
amplify my
confused now. Like
voice.
when we were getting into the VR,
Okay, I have it
the only
amplified.
option seemed to be to build a very powerful computer for it. Um, and
No,
what
Quest
is
works on its own.
so? What are the limitations? Like, does it do? I mean, it doesn't do everything. For example, the HTC Vive does, or does it? Like, because we
No,
use it
but
for.
can I just tell you, we're about to start this event. I'm sorry,
Okay,
but I can't talk about
okay,
this right now, okay?
yeah,
Sorry
okay,
about that.
yeah. Thank you. I was just trying to figure out how to get more people involved in Fiji with
Yeah,
this, so
well,
I'll
and
ask
let's
later.
talk about it. We just can't do it now, but
Yep,
yeah, let's talk about
yep.
it.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you all for coming. And I hear conversation in the audience about getting more people involved in what we're doing. And we are so grateful for all of you being here today. And we're so grateful for everybody spreading the word about students in VR. I'm Dr. Angelina Dayton, and I'm a co-founder of Students in VR with the wonderful Donna McTee, who's up in the audience. She'll be assisting today in our Q&A. And students in VR is a part of educators in VR. And to my left, your right, up on the board over there, you'll see all of the wonderful resources that are available through educators in VR. They support and help to produce these events, and we appreciate them. I am only here to introduce the wonderful Kayla Jumper. Lawson Sokup may be joining us a little bit later. Kayla will be interviewing Keely Cardiff, and I'm going to pass it over to her now. Students in VR is a student-run, student-produced uh, organization, and so now I'm going to let the students take the stage. Take it away, Kayla.
Hello, my name is Kayla Jumper, as you just heard, and today we have our wonderful guest here. Would you like to make a little introduction for yourself?
Sure. Hello, everyone. I'm glad you were able to make it today, and thank you for coming to the event. My name is Keely Cardiff, and I am a specialist in extended reality. I do development and integration of the applications at my local university, University of Pacific. So, yeah, and I'm also starting up actually tomorrow. It's pretty exciting. The virtual schooling group here in AltSpace, part of Educators in VR. It's a great sessions and series to come on in and learn about like virtual schooling. So whether that be through Zoom or maybe AltSpace or maybe Mozilla Hubs, really talk about some of the challenges and tips and tricks for virtual schooling with an emphasis on homeschooling. So I hope you're able to come to that event as well. That's tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time right here in AltSpace. Yeah.
Oh, it's exciting. All right, how about we get into those questions, shall we?
Yes, awesome.
Okay, so. All right, because you already told us a little bit about who you are. Where are you from exactly?
So I am from Central Valley, California. I grew up in like Tracy area, if anybody's familiar with that area. I grew up in there and then kind of moved around a little bit around mostly the central area of California. And now I'm back. I'm back in the Central Valley area near Stockton because I work at the University of Pacific. So yeah.
Nice. All right. What is something very interesting about you?
Interesting. I'm gonna go a little bit wacky on it. So I'm a collector, but what I collect is I collect hats. I have like over 200 hats in my closet. I actually have a room in my house of just like hats, and that's why I have one here on my little avatar. So yeah, I just love. I think the reason I love them and I always sell them to my friends is that either you gain weight or lose weight, the hats will still fit. So it's a good investment.
Wait, if that was to be put on a t-shirt, I'd wear that or put on a hat. All right. What is the most exciting thing you have done in virtual reality?
Oh, that's hard because virtual reality is so much fun. I think it's kind of two things that I've done. One of them is more personable, and that's one of the applications I created or helped create, and I'll talk about that towards the end of the session today. And it was about recreating a historical part for a Filipino community in Stockton, California, and that was a really neat experience because I got to like work with local historians, members of the community and whatnot, and like build it and then share it with other people. But for like one that I'm not as biased towards would be there's this one application I tried where it was an educational experience on the history of like airplanes and flight. And they took you in cockpits of all the different airplanes, even from like Da Vinci's workshop, and then all the way to like I think it's like Kitty Hawk in North Carolina, and then all the way up to the modern. And they even like predicted the future or try to predict the future on like 100 years. And it was a really cool experience because I felt like I was in the airplane and learning about the history of it. So yeah, I just love educational experiences.
Nice. All right. How do you see virtual reality doing good in the world?
I see it as a really powerful tool for perspective taking. I'm a big advocate for perspective taking, for learning about communities, especially ones that are typically muted or ignored or put to the back of the room. I think virtual reality is a powerful tool that people can use to share their history and their culture and share that diversity with everybody. And so I really hope to see more active perspective taking and applications being not only built by people of color or people from minority backgrounds or whatever it would be, but also to have other people experience it and kind of have that common ground.
Right. What do you hope to see more of in the future?
See the future as in virtual reality. I hope to see more adopting of the platform and not just like rushing into it and just like willy-nilly kind of go, oh, we're going to do this and then build this or build that, but really come up with maybe a problem that we're trying to solve and then work with people to solve that problem and make sure that we're also inclusive with everybody, bringing in again, I know it might sound repetitive, but I'm really big about bringing in everybody and making an inclusive thing and making sure that everybody feels welcome and they have a seat at the table, because that's what I really I hope to see it, because I went to this session that was led by Nani, the godmother of virtual reality, and she really advocated that we really need to make sure that there's inclusivity in this beginning of virtual reality and pioneering it onto these platforms, making these applications, because it's still an emerging technology, right? We're all pioneers, we're still learning them. Everybody here is a pioneer and really getting into it because you're here right now in Altspace. That's a new thing to a lot of people. So I think getting in while you still can, and then hopefully these platforms, these applications will be built by more diverse people, and then that would create more, hopefully a better environment than what we see today in some tech industries. But yeah.
I totally agree about how everyone should have like a seat at a table, like a voice, no matter like who they are, where they come from. I agree with that so wholeheartedly.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What can we do to bring virtual reality more into the homes of everyday people?
Oh, that's a good one. I'm sure I'm sure with the release of Quest 2 that a lot of people are thinking about it as well, because it's a little bit more on the affordable side of headsets, and even though for some people it still might not be. So I would actually say to really bring it into like the home environment or maybe your institution or your office is kind of get them on like a gateway I hate to use the term jug, but like a gateway drug, or like just get their feet wet. Let's put it that way. Get their feet wet with applications, even with Mozilla Hubs. I'm a big fan of that one because you can just share a web URL link and people go there and they don't have to download anything. And then once they're comfortable with that, get them into Altspace. You have to download things, but look how many more features you can do. And also just along with that, with kind of integrating technology like hubs and Altspace and whatnot, also work on the vocabulary that we use in our everyday life, because I feel like when I approached a lot of, especially faculty at my institution, with the term virtual reality, they shut down because they think they have to invest into headsets. And then they don't want to deal with it, or they don't think about it, or they, all these other things, especially with COVID now, like, oh, what about disinfecting it? But when I bring it towards it more as like a virtual environment, like this, or like hubs, there's more buy-in because they go, oh, that's more than just Zoom, or that's more than this, than just, chatting on a, Microsoft Teams or Discord or something like that. So I think we have to work on the vocab and how we present things, because like I said, it's a new field. So yeah.
Yeah, make it seem not so, what is this? Make it more understandable to people.
Exactly. And also be there too with them. Like, set up a meeting. Hey, do you want to try out this virtual reality experience together if you can, and get in there with them so they don't feel alone. Have a buddy system, I think, helps a lot too.
Yeah. I feel like that would work very well if you have someone to personally teach you about how to work VR, like I did. I was fortunate enough to get when I first was introduced into VR. It's a big thing, so yeah.
Yeah. I didn't have a buddy. I just kind of went into the deep end. But I think for me, I was a little bit used to that because I have a background in computer science. So we're kind of, at least at my institution, we're taught to just fly the nest. But I know that that's unusual for a lot of people. So yeah.
Well, it sounds like an easier experience because my gateway into VR was getting thrown off a building. So
Oh, was it that plank game where you walk on the plank and then?
yes,
Yes.
Miss Angelina Dayton, she walked into our classroom one day and said, "Hey, we're gonna get to teach math using VR, and I'm gonna throw you off a building."
That's funny. That's hilarious. Yeah, we at my institution we use that plank game a lot to get people into VR, and it's interesting because there was some staff who are like, yeah, we should do it this way, and other staff who are concerned about intimidating or kind of like scaring off beginners. But most of the people are fine with it, especially if you just tell them like, hey, you'll be okay. We're here for you, like a trust fall exercise. Even though you're not actually falling, but like just telling the person that you're there and they've got you, help them. So
yeah, just like hold their hand through the experience of it.
Yeah.
Because I know we're getting slightly off track here, but we've been like flying through these questions. And I know you have slides, but
Oh, that's okay.
one thing that I got to do was I got to help people into their gateway of VR, like the girls' class of algebra. I got to personally throw them off the building, and it really does help by holding their hand, saying, "It's not real. It's not real. You're not gonna fall," and splatter on the ground.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Like a great thing to do. All right. So, can you tell us a little bit more about what you do with educators in VR?
Sure. So I guess I'll start off a little bit of background of how I got involved. It was about 10 months ago, 9 months ago or so. I just hopped in into Educators in VR on their Discord and went to Altspace events like this and was up there on the little chairs. We were in a different environment, but yeah, I kind of got started off with that, and then I just kind of hung around. And I don't know if Lowell is here, but she'll tell you that if you stand around long enough, she'll put you she'll put you to work, which is great because I was looking for great things to do, and there's so many great things to do in educators in VR, and there was an opening for the virtual schooling group. So I volunteered myself to lead that, and I'm looking forward to doing more of those events and sessions and really helping out virtual schooling and homeschooling. Because I know it's a little tangent, but like my background is that I grew up homeschooled private school, K through 12, and then went to like public community college. And so I have a soft spot for homeschooling and seeing how VR can use it, because that was my dream. Somebody asked me one day, it was like, if you could do anything, what would it be? And I'm like, oh, I love virtual reality. I love the tool and I love developing for it. So my dream would be developing applications for virtual reality for students to use in their home for homeschooling, and going around and advertising that and helping out homeschoolers with VR and technology. So I saw the opening here and I was just like, there you go. So yeah.
Well, personal experience about how this whole mess of what the world is right now. I'm having to do homeschooling, and I honestly wish to make it more interesting and engaging and actually learn for at least a day without winging it. I wish we had VR and like a better way of homeschooling than what we do have.
Yeah,
So what you're doing really means a lot to me.
I'm glad, yeah, and I hoping that people find it really helpful and the events will be helpful and people come in and share their knowledge. And one thing I want to touch on that too is I think there's a lot of students feeling frustrated with the homeschooling experience that they have because of the pandemic. And from my viewpoint, being homeschooled my whole life and then suddenly seeing this shift of people having to do it, I think this should also be an awareness that when you design a lecture for being in person or a curriculum or educational plan for in person, and then you move to a virtual format like Altspace or Hubs or something, it needs to be tweaked and adjusted. And I know that that's a really difficult task to request for teachers, and I know they're understandably swamped and underpaid and all of that, and that can't always happen, unfortunately. But I just think it's something that people should be aware of, that like you can't just easily translate one educational plan because it's in person right to a virtual format, and there might need to be adjustments, maybe more interactivity like you were saying, because you're not in person. So yeah.
Oh, if I could say that to my teachers' faces right now.
Yeah.
They get an earful of it saying, you're not translating it right. We need a better system here. But I am just one measly student in the sea of many students.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. You almost have to like band together, and that's something that I do a lot at my position at University of Pacific, is that I'm not technically like faculty level, I'm staff, but I help faculty out with integrating some of their classes into an online format. Like one of them was about virtual reality and like filmmaking. And so they reached out to me and I was like, here's all these really cool resources with VR. I showed them hubs, the Mozilla hubs that I mentioned before, because we can't request students to like download things. So many like security issues and whatnot. But we can tell them to go to the website. And so they're able to get in there and at least try it out and get their feet wet with VR. So yeah, I think either, I definitely say across the board, pay the teachers more. That's a definite thing, and get more teachers so they're not overworked. And then, hire people like me to help out too as a helping hand. So
yeah. It's like teachers need to be paid more to deal with the stuff that they deal with, not only on a everyday regular basis, but also now, especially now, dealing with the stress and all that, especially when you have to be in school and like risking your life for the plague to just teach the next generation.
Yeah, it's difficult because you don't want to not teach them. So yeah, I have faculty and teachers in my family, and every day they're stressed, and it's hard to see.
Yeah. Well, I have one more question for you, but
Mhm.
first, can we go over the slides that you brought in today?
Sure, yeah, I'll go with the slides. If you want to go next, please, Donna. Oh, here we go.
Oh,
Sorry, I'm gonna
and
move
I
over
am.
here so I can see it.
Oh, I was about. I was about to scoot over
Ah,
here. Like, okay, here we go.
I'll stand over here so I can read it. Okay, so this is just a little bio about myself. I told a lot about myself already, but one thing that I also want to hopefully see or bring into Altspace or virtual spaces like this is actually Goals Who Code. I don't know if anybody who's volunteered Goals Who Code or heard of, has anybody heard of Goals Who Code? Little emojis, yeah, there's a couple. So I'll tell you what it is for people who don't know. It's typically an after school or in school program to teach goals coding, whether it be HTML or Java or Python or whatnot. So that way we can have more diversity in the tech field. And being a female in the tech field, I definitely see a need for it. So that was a project or a session that I loved doing every week, was volunteering for them and teaching them coding. I actually brought in virtual reality to them, and they loved it. I put it, I actually I did a whole lesson plan on it, and they just went to the website and they took off designing their virtual spaces, and there was no stopping them, which was so much fun to see. And I wanted to come back and do more, but then that was right when COVID hit, so that was really sad for me to see. But I'm hoping maybe, to see more of that community here in Altspace to do Goals Who Code initiatives. And yeah, now due to COVID and whatnot, I've actually been relatively high in demand at my workplace, just doing workshops and lectures on virtual reality, because it's kind of the new buzzword. I don't know if anybody notices that, but it's the new like machine learning or something like that. So interesting time for me. I just graduated and then boom, became the new hot commodity. So, but I love it. It's great. Okay, next slide, please. And the other thing that I've done at this position that I have, and when I was a student at Pacific, because I graduated there with my undergrad and graduate degree in computer science and virtual reality and education, was I actually helped design this application, Little Manila, which is the name of the community that I mentioned earlier, the Filipino community in Stockton, California. And it was named after Manila in the Philippines. And so they call it Little Manila. And it was a vibrant, wonderful community of Philippines about 100 or so years ago. They came over and they kind of made their own home there, and it was really great. But then, unfortunately, in like the 1950s or so, the local government was like, we're just going to demolish your homes. We're going to demolish the area and put in a huge freeway, which was really sad and unfortunate. So, yeah, it displaced a lot of Filipinos in the area, and University of Pacific kind of saw it as an opportunity to really bring their community back, really strengthen it, because they have a really good Filipino community there, but they wanted to have their past history there as well. So we were like, hey, let's bring it back and let's use virtual reality. So we worked with historians, journalists, educators, all of it, a really good interdisciplinary team, and we made this application called Little Manila, or Little Manila in VR. I had a video, but I guess I heard the videos aren't working, so it's kind of sad. But maybe I could link it in the Discord or something like that if people are interested in seeing a video for it, because it's really neat. You get to go in there and learn about the community. You can hear the voices of the people there, and everything is as accurate as we could get it to be. And one thing that I'm really proud of that was made in the decision of development is that all of the voices in the application is voiced by local Filipinos, because I think that's really important to not only give them a voice at the table in design and history, but also give them a voice in the game. And they also speak Tagalog in there, different variations of it throughout the application, and we have little subtitles so people can read it too. So it's I just love the application and showing it off to people. I think it's just so wonderful. And I want to do more projects like that, more cultural heritage projects. So yeah, next slide, please. And then this one, I did it completely solo myself. I partially grew up in the Golden Foothills in California, kind of near the Jackson area, if anybody's familiar with it. And there's lots of mining towns, lots of mines, lots of equipment there. So I thought, hey, wouldn't it be fun to go visit a gold mine in virtual reality? So I put together this, a little educational application. It's about like 5 minutes. You go in there and learn about what was it like to live as a miner, going into the mine, how cramped and dark it feels and scary, and then actually picking up a pickaxe and like mining away and picking up the ores into the cart and everything and kind of getting a feel for it. So that one was just kind of a personal solo project that I did, but people enjoy it every day. Every time we had them try it out before COVID hit, people just loved it. So that was a really cool application. So next slide, please. Thank you. And then this one, this is a little teaser. This is kind of, you're the first to kind of see it. I'm currently working on this augmented reality application on climate change, and I'm working with geology students at Pacific to get the information about it and put it into a really fun way to like soak in information about climate change and how it's changing our world and what it'll look like. So I'm actually in the process of getting this onto the App Store. It'll be a fun free application that hopefully will be available on Android and Apple devices. And yeah, you can go in there and it's great because you can walk up to areas in these fictitious towns or farms and learn about how different things in the town contribute to like greenhouse gases. And we went into detail about proper farm management and making sure that you manage your farm correctly and do it smartly, so that way you don't have as much soil erosion, because then if you have a lot of soil erosion, it's not going to handle the extreme climate change that is probably unfortunately coming to us, and then that would mean less crops and then less food and then food security issues. So just a lot of things to kind of explore with that I'm really excited to get that into classrooms and get into people's hands. So yeah, you can go to the next slide. I think that's the last slide. Yeah, so feel free to contact me. I have my LinkedIn account. I love to talk about virtual reality, as you probably could tell. I'll chew your ear off on it. And then you can also shoot me an email on it as well. So yeah, it's kind of me in a 10 box. I have so much more I want to talk about, but I also know that this is a students in VR session. So Keely, if you want to take over, ask that last question.
It's like, well, you're our grand guest, and we have plenty of time for you to talk about your projects and your ambitions and all that good jazz. So if you want to chew our ear off, I will be more than happy to have teeth in my ear for another good 30-40 minutes.
Yeah, sure. I guess I can I didn't talk too much about the research that I have done. If you could, Donna, if you go back to that slide with the little manila, please. Thank you. Wonderful. Awesome. So after this application was built, we actually decided to do a little bit of research on it, and actually with how to present information in virtual reality, because I think especially at the time when this was developed a couple years ago, a lot of times people don't think about how information is presented in VR, and they just kind of put it up against the wall, or they think this is how we view it in real life or on a phone, so then this is how it translates into VR, and that isn't necessarily the case. And so if you can kind of see, there's like this little picture that says Mariposa Hotel on it, and that was kind of what we called like informational like widget pop-ups. And originally we had them very static and stationed, so you had to like be positioned in a specific area and you had to like turn around and look, and a lot of people found that to be difficult. So we did some studies comparing like different methods of, when it pops up and how it looks and stuff like that, and we actually found out there's significant findings that people reported when they went into a area, kind of like a stage or like a designated area. We use like blue highlight squares on the floor, and then the information will just pop up like right where they're looking, so they don't have to look around. I think that would be really cool if something like AltSpace would allow it too. But I know that would that would be scripting, and I know AltSpace is understandably cautious with allowing scripting on the platform. So yeah, that was a lot of fun to be able to do research and doing study like that. And I'd also recommend to get students involved with that, because I was a student at that time in that research project, and it was so much fun learning about like all the process and getting IRB approval and getting in there. So I'm a big advocate for students. That's why I love what you guys are putting together, the students in VR. That's so important to get the younger generation in, get it going, and giving people opportunities. It's just wonderful to see that. Yeah, I mean, what else to talk about?
It's okay,
so
but
much
we do
fun.
have. It's like talking up here is fun, and then before you know it, it's like a good 15 minutes later, and like, oh wait.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
we do have one more question for you.
Mhm.
How can we support you and what you do?
Awesome question. Yes. So ways that you can support me is showing up to the event and being engaged in maybe in like some projects. You know, there's some projects I talked to Donna and Angelina about doing with the students, and I would love to showcase, you know, the power of students in VR through homeschooling. Like you were saying that you're homeschooling, you know, how that was great to hear from you. What do you want changed? And bring that to these sessions and be like, hey, we should change it like this, or maybe we could switch the tables and I interview you and you can tell me, and then people in the audience could learn it. So yeah, definitely I think supporting wise is just feedback. Everybody's opinions are valid and important, so getting those as well. And yeah, showing support and participating in projects. And I'll do the same for you. Anything that you need help with, anything. I think it'd be so cool to get the Goals Who Code class in maybe VR or some kind of shape or manner into it. So yeah.
Well, I think that sounds like a grand idea.
Yeah, I guess we can open up the
Well,
questions then if anybody
yep,
has any.
it's open questions.
I just very quickly, I wanted to note that we can put your videos up on the server for
Okay, awesome.
and we can put a link in the Students in VR and Educator VR Discord server, so all that information can go out. And do you have the day and time of your event tomorrow to pitch also?
Oh,
Keely?
yes, the event is the first kickoff meeting of the virtual schooling event is happening tomorrow, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here in AltSpace, and I believe that announcement will be coming out soon on the Educators in VR Discord channel as well. So please come attend that. It'll be the first one. It'll be focusing on cyberbullying, kind of part of this anti-cyberbullying month. It'll be focused on cyberbullying and homeschooling and how parents can help their children and signs to look out for in your children as well.
And we can open it up for questions from the audience. You can do the raise hand. And Donna, did you want to do that?
Absolutely.
I just wanted to make one comment, which is, and I think I already told you this, Keely, I can't remember, but my great grandfather lived in the Central Valley near Little Manila. He was from the
That's so
Philippines.
neat.
And so it just means a lot, I think, to have that work done, because there was a lot of people don't know there was a lot of prejudice against the Filipinos in the Central Valley of California. And so it was actually an act of racial aggression for them to destroy Little Manila and to displace them. And in fact, there were signs up around Stockton that would say no Filipinos allowed.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that's talked about a lot, but there was a lot of racial discrimination against Filipinos in that area. And so I think what you did was really great.
And that's definitely included in that application a lot. We actually we had a scene where you would go, I think it was north of Main Street, and there would be a policeman that would be like, nope, you can't go past here because you're Filipino. And
Yeah.
a lot of people found that really, like you said, they didn't know about it, so they
Surprising.
found it surprising.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
we have images in there with those signs that says, you know, no Filipinos allowed. And they read about it, but they didn't actually like, they're like, okay, yeah, yeah. But then when they actually get to that scene where the cops like, no, you can't go past here, you know, go back, then people go, oh my goodness, you know, that's just that, again, perspective taking, right? You know, so
Yeah.
that's kind of like the beginning moment of the power of perspective taking for me. So
Yeah. So, great work. And I'm sorry, Donna, I totally jumped in, but it's
No,
open
that
it up
is
to
your
questions now.
that's your prerogative. So if anybody has any questions, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
If anybody has any questions, if you just look down to your bottom right, you have the raise hand button. If you click that, we will amplify your voice and you'll be able to unmute yourself and everybody in the room will be able to hear your question. So does anybody have anything that they would like to know from Keely? Or I have to say, Kayla would be happy to take a question as well. Isn't she a great interviewer, you guys? So
yes.
why don't we send up some hearts for Kayla? It's just awesome. And while you're doing it, let's do it for Keely too. We're gonna do it again for a photo in a few minutes, but I just think the combination of these two has just been such an interesting conversation today. So 3D printing, I just amplified your voice, so go ahead.
Okay, thank you. You were mentioning about having help online. Now, I'm introducing VR in Fiji for educational and other purposes, and here it's almost unknown. What are the chances of local students, whether they're artists learning how to design or musicians or architectural students or others, medical students, what would be the chance of them maybe being able to link up with, say, students like in the US or elsewhere for help, like coming into spaces like this and having someone to guide them?
Oh, oh yeah, setting up like a buddy system where people can hook up and and connect. I love that.
Yep.
I think the students in VR, if you want to take this one, I think your organization would be wonderful for that. So
Like, I think so that they would, but I don't really know that aspect of it that well. That's
gonna
more of
ask-
a Donna or Angelina
Well,
question than
Angelina, do
me
you have
question.
anything you'd like to comment on that?
Yeah. So educators in VR can connect you with a lot of other educators who are doing similar work. There's a language exchange programs that Michael McDonald puts on, and just a lot of there's a hackathon being put on by a man named Rohit, and so there's a lot of opportunities for teachers to help connect their students because usually you need a mentor or a guide, somebody that can help assist you in making that connections. I invite you to bring your students. They can do it in 2D or in 3D to our Students in VR conference. And I'm going to get, so I'm a little bit more on stage so I can pitch it. Students in VR is having, it'll be posted tomorrow. Students in VR is going to have an international conference next Thursday and Friday right here in AltSpace. And we're going to have a lot of great speakers, and we're going to have fun events like a haunted house and an earthquake machine and other exciting things for students that wouldn't normally be able to go out and trick or treat and have fun because of COVID. And when you go to those events, there will be socials. And what we find is that at those socials, because at these events, it's really hard to talk and get connected. Sometimes there's a little bit of time before or after, but we built in social events so you can meet people, a lot of great people from educators in VR like Keely, a lot of great people from students in VR like Kayla, that will connect you and begin to build a partnership. It happens very quickly, very easily, and they are wonderful people. And like Keely said, I think Laurel's already gone, but if Laurel from Educators in VR catches you, she's going to give you something to do. You will be volunteered, friend. So yes, stay involved, and you'll find plenty of opportunities.
Thank you.
That was a great question. So thank you for that question, 3D. That was awesome. Now, does anyone else have a question that they would like to, something burning that you're wanting to know?
Ooh, an interesting question. nice.
How many people are excited about Keely's inaugural event tomorrow? Isn't that going to be amazing? I'm so excited about that. So make sure that you go and mark interested right away in the AltSpace event calendar so that you get an email 1 hour before reminding you that it's happening. Okay, so that's really important. So, okay, come on, let's have one more question, you guys. One more question, and then we'll invite you on stage and we'll take a group photo. How many people are homeschooling somebody right now? Give me some emojis if you're homeschooling somebody right now. How many people know parents who are absolutely frustrated because they're homeschooling right now?
Yeah,
I think we all do, right? Isn't that the truth, right? So I just think that Keely's project under Educators in VR is just so timely to happen right now. So not only amazing information about it, but also for people to get together and just share and understand that they're not alone. So I encourage you to talk to people that you know to get them in. And remember, you do not have to be in a headset to attend these events, right? I'm in 2D right now. It works perfectly fine, and it does not cost anything. So it's just a free download for if you just go to the Microsoft Store, for instance, and just put in AltSpace. It's a free download. You can come into AltSpace and create a username. You can reach out to any of us if you have questions about it. But I just think it's really, in these pandemic times, these groups where we're finding people that we can just talk to, that understand, that know what we're going through, right? That is saving people, just like it's saving their sanity. These are not therapeutic sessions, right? They're not therapy. What they are is community. And that's what it's all about, right? Don't we learn amazing things from community? And so I really encourage you to let, if you don't have kids yourself, let other people know about it. Now, the VR lad, go ahead. Oh, Angelina, it's you. You can talk, Angelina. Go ahead.
I'm the VR lad. No,
Yeah,
that's what I was going to ask.
Sorry.
That was what I was going to ask. I have 7 children and I've homeschooled them at various times. If I'm just a mom, and I'm not the VR lad or the VR lady, and I want to be involved in the group, is the main thing that you're doing the talks on Thursdays? And do you have a Discord group or another thing that we obviously students in VR are going to be tweeting out when you have your events, but is there another, do you have a part of the Educators in VR Discord? Is there any other way that you would like to tell me as just a normal mom, not the VR lady mom, how to get involved in your group?
Yeah, thank you. I would say just go to the Educators of VR Discord, and we have a channel for virtual schooling, and hopefully the project will be really popular that we will need to create a whole sub channel or a different server. That's what I'm hoping for, but I'm just kind of testing the waters, getting my feet wet to see how people react to it. But definitely go on the Educators in VR Discord, and there's a virtual schooling channel that we've been posting really helpful links and news stories about homeschooling and how people can use certain resources or like what Donna was saying, just to read about my parents when they were homeschooling. They had difficulties with all of us. We were all little brats at one point or another. But they had a homeschooling group that they could go and vent to other parents. I think they found very helpful. So that's, I'm hoping that there'll be that connection where people go, oh, this is how other families are going through it. And maybe this is what they did as a solution or something, and see if it helps you. So yeah, Educators in VR Discord. And I believe there's right over there. And Kayla, my left, your right.
Kayla, you're homeschooled, so I encourage your wonderful mother to become part of the group too.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm really hoping that the group will have both the parents' voices and the children's voices, because it's a unique perspective, not only, homeschooling, but also being homeschooled and all the challenges that come with that, and the joys. There's lots of joys, but there's challenges as well. So, yeah.
Like, I'm waiting to feel those joys, mate. I'm waiting to feel those joys. I've been public school ever since I started schooling, so this is a whole different thing. And when you have teachers who have no idea what they're doing, it's kind of just, where's the joy? What's the point of this?
Yeah.
This is probably not even going to matter. You're probably just going to say, okay, you guys did the work. It's not that good, but you did it. Go on to the next grade. Get out of here, you little scamp.
Yeah, and that's something else that I wanted to bring on too as a topic at one point. I don't think it could be thoroughly discussed in one session, but maybe a month-long series of how the public school, at least in America, grades things and determines what's success and what's not for a student versus what some homeschoolers do. So, one thing that, I was homeschooled K through 12, and I wasn't too familiar with standardized testing or knowing that grades is what valued a student's success, which I don't think is accurate. And I had my education was based more on not only like the projects that I had to submit or essays, but also my ability to, in a sense, teach others. Like if my parents asked me about this, was I able to answer it and have a good response to it versus just, okay, look at the multiple tests, multiple choice test kind of thing. Because I think there's some issues with that. I don't believe in standardized testing as a sole measure of success for a student. And yeah, I'm sad about your experience. I hope that hopefully you can sleep in, right? Isn't that a positive? You don't have to get up to the bus, or no?
I never rode the bus anyway.
Oh, okay. I knew some people that had to get up like 2 hours before their class actually started just to catch the bus, and now they're like, I get to sleep in and just roll out of bed.
Well, I have a few friends who are just like, yes, I don't have to ride the bus. And it's like, I'm here earlier than you. You don't get to judge the bus because I'm usually here earlier than you. I get here before the bus even gets here. But that is a discussion I would really love to have with you, seeing where public school is very flawed while homeschooling is very, I don't know what the word it is, better in a way, if for someone who's always had it.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, feel free to email me, contact me about these discussions. I'd love to have you on an interview and have I don't want to steal Tom from Virtual World Society, but like a fireside chat.
I will say that Kayla was always there very early, and she would go and get the headsets when I would work at her school and take them across to the early kids that were the preschoolers and the kindergartners. And she would put the headsets on those little ones and teach them how to use VR. And that's not something, the skill set that she learned cannot be captured on a standardized test.
Yeah,
and so it really speaks to a lot of discussions about, about the benefits of homeschooling. I homeschooled a lot of my children too, and it's I think this is an opportunity for us to show more about what emerging technology can do. Because when I homeschooled my first kids 28 years ago, oh goodness, there was no resources, and now look what they can do. And
I remember my parents dragging us hours away to the Bay to go to a major homeschooling conference because that was the main way that they could get curriculum, and they had to put in orders for curriculum books and spend all this money, and it was tough, and budget was tight, and so we'd often have to just purchase one textbook and then write the answers down on a piece of paper kind of thing. And I've talked to my parents now, and they show them all these cool things like Altspace and other even just websites with information, and they're like, oh, I wish we had that. That would have been so cool. Or like Minecraft, I know is popular in classrooms, like to jump into Minecraft and to do lessons in there. I was taught with Lego blocks and bricks, but you could do it Minecraft and more affordability than Lego. So
yeah,
Like,
it's just amazing.
I'm just
ahead,
saying, homeschool kids are lucky because they don't have to do standardized tests. They don't have to deal with that demon that is standardized tests. I hate doing them, every year. And this
Yeah.
October, I think I have to take the pre-ACT, and then next year I have
Ooh.
to take the actual ACT.
Yeah,
So,
that's no fun. I often tell people that I actually got my master's degree without any standardized testing in my life. So I able to
Oh.
skip the SAT and everything. So
By
it's
going to
it
the junior college first, by transferring
exactly.
in. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's so
Exactly. And
awesome.
yeah,
Well,
I don't think I would have done well.
I'll end with one thing. My children homeschool, and a lot of kids will say to them, "Oh, you homeschool. You don't have to go to school every day." And my kids go,
Mhm.
"We go to school all day, every day when we
24/7,
homeschool."
yes.
Yeah, it's always school. Well, we'd like to invite everybody up for a photo with Michaela. I'm sorry, Kayla, and we had Kayla, McKeely, and Keely. So Kayla and Keely. And to take a photo. Please come all the way up. Everybody's invited, everybody. And we're gonna throw up some emojis, and Donna's gonna take a photo of us. Thank you all for and it's if you look up, Kayla, if you look up, you've disappeared into the background, and it's totally cool and awesome. Did you see it? Step back again.
That
It
is
was
so
totally
weird
cool.
in
Did you
here.
see it?
Yeah.
It was totally awesome.
I don't know if they did that for Halloween or not, but it's
Yeah,
So
it's
awesome.
funny.
Somebody else has two back there.
Is there any?
Printing, 3D printing also disappeared back there. That's kind of cool.
Oh,
Oh
awesome.
Come
no.
on, come on up, everyone. Everybody come be a part of the photo. Anybody else up there want to join us?
Fuck that. The last
Come
time
on,
I came
everybody
up,
do this with your hands so that they can know that we want them to join.
last time I came up on the stage, I got booted out. No way.
Oh,
No,
we want you to join. You should just take
Chad,
a video of us doing this. Look at this.
none of
I
us,
don't know.
Chad, none of us booted
Yeah.
you, and you're being invited. Just please come up on stage.
Come on, come on, come
All right.
on.
Well, if this is a trick, I mean, it's not funny.
Let's do no trick. Come on.
Okay,
All right.
so let's have emojis, everyone. Is that everyone?
Emojis.
All right.
Okay, so now I'm gonna count down. So keep the emojis going, and I'm gonna go 3, 2, 1, and there I got it. And first try, we got it. That's awesome.
Yay!
Oh,
Thank you
guys,
everyone for
that's so
coming.
cool. Thank you so much.
Yay. Good.
So
Yay.
I'm gonna take my voice off the amplify, and if Keely
Yeah.
and Kayla want to take their voice off the amplify, you can mingle for a little while with people who've come up on stage. And does that work?
Alt
Sure, let
space
me
crew.
take it off.
Alt space
There we
crew
go.
in the house. 1, 2. Alt space crew in the house. 1, 2. Oh yeah.
All right, I'm gonna just move
Alt
away
space
from
crew.
the huddle.
Alt space crew.
There we go.
Get it down with the alt space crew. Oh, what's happening now?
All right.
Alt space crew in the house. 1, 2. Alt space crew in the house. 1, 2.
Hi.
ALTSPACE. Alt space crew.
Hello,
How you-
3D printing. Hi.
Hey.
Oh.
Yeah,
How you
that's
feeling,
really very interesting what you're doing. I had no idea
feel better?
what's all happening in
Did you
VR.
go back to school?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
it's an
there's-
exciting field.
Yeah,
Is it totally
so
clear?
much
It
stuff
was
going on.
Yeah, it cleared up a
Mhm.
bit more today. So
I'm amazed
You're
at,
feeling better?
we got into it because of
Yeah.
the 3D printing design,
Okay,
Mm.
so
and
I
then
was telling
discovered everything else, and it's so
McKeely
important
that on
here to
Saturday
introduce the
there's
local youth.
another UN
Because
event.
a lot of them,
but
they're
I don't-
seeing their parents
I
working
don't know
pretty
if
much
you have
for
a
nothing,
computer where you can
Mm.
download and
getting
save.
nowhere.
I
It's
need
like
the
they
new
have no idea
installation
what's
time on
happening
Saturday
outside, and
to-
I'm trying to bring some
Can
inspiration here.
you make sure that you download
Yeah.
the date
Um,
install it
And there's a
then
lot
reinstall
of
it, or you want me to help you on Saturday?
job opportunities too, not just in like computer science, but also
Help you? Okay.
in virtual reality. And
I'll-
that's
I'll
one of the things I
message you
love
for a
about it
time.
is, you know,
We're
it's
gonna open up the
interdisciplinary. You can be an
Students in
artist, you
VR
can be a
server.
journalist, you
I'm
can
gonna
be,
start
you
sending
know,
invites to
historians. And
everybody.
I'm
So we
friends
gotta
with a
be
few
watching it.
historians,
You
and
wanna
they've
watch-
often
you wanna
more
watch this
concerned about the
VR
job security,
server with
but
us?
with virtual
I could
reality,
send
they
you
feel a little bit more
transition.
confident because they
we have a
can
second
put their
in the
knowledge
house,
into
might
a
be able to
virtual
go
space like this and
I'm trying
make
to see if you can
some
download
good
a
money.
voice onto your headset.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Just
Hey, you
the other
guys,
day I met
look
with
this
a
way. I want to
local
take your
lady that
photo,
was a,
okay?
Sit down and
Oh, I'm
look
sorry.
she's a
together.
She was a
Yeah.
consultant. She lived in France for a long
Okay.
time,
Oh, you
and she
okay, you have
also
to come
went to
forward.
the
Oh, there we
Louvre
go.
to see the
Stop.
Mona
Oh, no.
Lisa.
Okay, everybody.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh.
what's going on?
Hold
Oh,
on.
there.
Hey,
Oh, Donna, you're
okay.
on
Yeah, I'll hang on
megaphone.
a sec. I can't take
Okay.
it off right now. One sec.
Okay.
Okay.
And
That's
like going
perfect.
to the
Okay,
Louvre to see the Mona Lisa is a complete waste of time and money because there's something behind dark glass. You can't even come close. There's just reflections in the
Oh,
tinted glass.
really?
Complete waste of time. Well, I mean, uh, if it's
I
even
think
the
she's
real
gonna-
painting, because of security concerns, it has to be,
No,
well
it was me.
protected.
I was on megaphone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm off
Um,
now.
Oh,
I just
so
couldn't
you
take
get
it
a
off
better
while I
idea of
was
what the Mona Lisa looks like by looking at a poster in the tourist shop. And they made a
Mm-hmm.
free VR program, free download. I don't know what you're using, but I downloaded it into my Steam account. It's free.
Mm-hmm.
The painting comes off the wall in front of you, and then she comes out of the painting. It's just
Oh,
beautiful.
wow.
It leaves you with an experience. The animation is
Mm-hmm.
perfect. Amazing job. So a local teacher tried it. Instead of just going blah, 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 and it's just another
Mm-hmm.
boring history lesson, here you have an
Look, there's stuff
experience.
stuck in the wall over
And then,
there.
the background of the painting, the wall of the
If you
room
look over there, there's
disappears,
something
and then
stuck in
she's
the wall.
sitting in front of that actual background.
Maybe.
It leaves you having experienced something. It is so
Mm-hmm.
much better.
And that experience will stay in your mind, and you'll remember more what the painting was telling you or talking to you about or something. And I think that's something else I'm really excited about virtual reality in education is, I always told my friends when I was in college that I looked at the current education system as a dysfunctional, inefficient, like car manufacturing, right? And they were looking at me like I'm crazy. They're like, what do you mean? It's always been this way, so it's fine. And I'm like, no, we got to think of ways to make things innovative, because there's so many studies showing that just
I thought
talking and
that was force
lecturing
period.
is not the most efficient way
And
to
I could be
absorb
wrong.
information. It's better
Yes.
to learn by doing, and mixing in a mixture of
Oh, yeah.
projects and
Yeah, 'cause at one point they
action
were just sitting in the hall.
items like picking things up and whatnot than just standing behind a desk or sitting behind a desk and
Yeah, they just
learning
were
about it.
sitting
But
in the
that's the way we
hall
do it,
all
because
hour,
it's
then the
always
teachers
been the
would
way we
come
do it,
by and
which
pass them
is a
and
really
be, "Where
dangerous
are you
way
supposed
of
to be?"
thinking, in my opinion. So
Yeah, and then they
yeah,
just have-
I gotta check that painting app out. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's, like that lady that was working there in France, she agreed that, going to the Louvre is a waste of time because,
Mhm.
and the VR experience leaves you with, and also there's another free download, the Versailles Castle. She also went there in person. And again, the same thing, they did a beautiful 3D scan of this palace in Versailles. It's a
Mm.
free download. You get to experience it in a way that you can't in real life. So,
Yeah.
Something strange that always
it's really like
something
VR is
strange
really
that always
needed here
happens
for
to me
many
is
applications, whether
you'll
it's,
tell me about an event.
training mechanics or
I'll get the
doctors
headset ready. I'll check
Mhm.
all the
or,
dates on
building
Altspace and
engineering. I
everything,
mean,
all
there's just
that
such a big need for it
that
here.
good
Also,
stuff.
the Handicap
And
Federation
then right
is
as I go in the login,
interested.
like a few minutes before the event
So
starts,
this is where I'm looking
it
at
gives me like
people
a
to
10-minute
connect with
notification.
overseas that could kind of help us and mentor us and guide us through.
Mhm.
So say, for example, have you used Tilt Brush?
Yes, I just purchased it, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It is a lot of fun.
And you said here I'm trying to get kind of past the stigma where someone says, oh, I don't know computers, they're complicated. Well, you don't
Mhm.
really need to know about computers to use Tilt
Mhm.
Brush. An artist can
Mhm.
quickly learn. And same when I say designing rooms and worlds here, or
Yeah, last time I
I mean, this is a real
literal
job. I met an
jack
artist and
jumped out.
designer who designs like offices. Say a company wants to have
Mhm.
a virtual meeting, design the meeting place.
Yeah, I've
So,
done that a lot at my job too.
oh
Designing
wow.
virtual worlds. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. But
Yeah.
I get into the computer science side, so I like to get in the back end and coding.